When we talk about the responsibilities of what a film director does, I think a lot of people have a lot of different ideas of what that actually is. And it varies set to set, film to film, production to production. On some productions, the director is only in charge of directing actors and making sure that they give a good performance. On other sets and locations, they could be in charge of the cinematography as well. And on other productions, predominantly lower budget productions or no budget productions, the director's in charge of everything. They're responsible for the actors, the cameras, the lighting, the catering, the transportation, all that kind of stuff falls on the director. But what I think is consistent throughout all of those different scenarios, roles, productions is that at the end of the day, the director is a leader, first and foremost. And to be a good leader, that's not something they necessarily teach you in film school, or I don't think there's a school in general you can go to become a good leader. I think those are qualities you learn through observing people you respect and admire. They're qualities that you can learn from your own experiences, how would you like to be treated, and just your personal life and all that. But there's no school that teaches you how to be a good leader. And that's something that's really important when it comes to being a director, because all of the choices fall in your head. I would assume so. Unless you are purely just a gun for hire, only in charge of the actors, and the producer is really the creative spearhead of the project, kind of like how movies used to be made. Unless it's a situation like that, most often the director is the person that all the department heads go to when they have any questions at all. Creatively speaking, anyways. If someone wants to know what color the bed sheet should be, they go to the director. If they want to know what colors the light should be, they go to the director. If they want to know how the camera's going to move, they go to the director. If they want to know how the movie's going to be cut together, they go to the director. If the music choices, again, all falls on the director. The director is making those choices. They may not be physically making those things happen, but at the end of the day, they are making those choices. And when someone goes to you for help or is asking, what do I do? You're a leader. And a director is a leader. And there's some certain qualities that I've observed in people that I admire and I respect. Not just film directors, but people in my life. And they're qualities that I think all good directors should have. And I don't have a formal list or anything like that, but I do have an idea of what a good leader should be. And I think the first and foremost, the leader should be a kind and a humble person. A good leader, well, ultimately a director's vision, their project, can be all about them to a certain extent. A leader is never egotistical about it. A leader is someone who brings you in on that process and sees what you bring, what uniqueness you bring to the project, and they want to bring that out in you because they want you to shine as much as they do. They want you to bring yourself to the project, and they want you to be heavily involved in the creative process. And you don't do that by being egotistical or being a mean-spirited person. I think first and foremost, the director should be a kind person. Now, golden rule and whatnot, a little bit cheesy, but it's true. If you don't treat people right, how are they going to enjoy working on your films? How are they going to want to come back to work on your films? How are you going to get good work from them? Now, there's probably a moral and ethical argument about, trials and tribulations and the creation of art and all that stuff, but I personally don't subscribe to tormenting or being mean to anybody when I'm creating something. After all, these people who are working on presumably your set, they're there to help you out at the end of the day. So you can't expect them to just be your, robots, just to boss around and give orders to, essentially. I think a director inspires you to be the best you can be at whatever your thing is. If you're an actor, if you're a composer, if you're an editor, if you're a camera person, the director should inspire you. They should be kind to you and they should inspire you. Because I've said this before and I'll say it again, as a director, you can't always expect that everybody working on your set loves the film as much as you do. In fact, you're probably the person who loves it the most out of anybody. And that's because, it's your vision, it's your movie, all that sort of thing. So you just ultimately can't expect anyone else to love your movie as much as you do. However, they love doing what they do. A camera person, a cinematographer, they love cinematography. An editor loves editing. An actor loves acting. Or let's assume that, these people, they like what their profession is or what their role is on the film. They love doing those positions. And so showing up to set, being a puppet for the director, being barked orders at, all that sort of thing, that doesn't really inspire them to create anything meaningful or, make them enjoy the work. Inspiring those people is you have to get those folks excited about their work that they're doing, essentially. Remember, you can't expect them to be as excited about the film as you are, but you can get them excited about their field, their role, whatever that is. Find out what makes them tick. I know in working with Ethan for a long time, fellow Doomed Productions person, if you're just clicking on this video, I know from working with him for a long time, I know what it gets him excited about cinematography. And I know how to communicate that with him. And we have our own special language we can speak when it comes to making movies together, specifically in that role as cameraman and director. And vice versa, when I was an actor for him, he kind of knew what got me excited about acting. And every time we spoke, every time we came together, both of us left those conversations excited about our roles. Well, in the case of if I came to him as an actor, every time we would talk, I would leave those meetings excited about what I was going to do acting-wise. And if we're talking, I'm the director and he's the cinematographer, we'd walk away excited, and he'd be excited about his camera work that he was going to do and his cinematography that he was going to create. So a job of the director is to be kind to people. It's to inspire people to do the best work that they can. And it's also, really, you got to be able to listen. You got to be able to hear people. Directing, you're doing a lot of talking when you're directing, but you also have to be able to listen. It's a skill that surprisingly not a lot of people have, which is unfortunate, but it's true. It's as much as about giving orders as just listening to people. And maybe giving orders is the poor choice of words, but you're doing a lot of talking. And how can you expect anyone to listen to you if you don't listen to them, right? Very basic elementary school stuff. You have to be able to hear their ideas, because you never know when they might have an idea that's better than your own. And this goes back to the ego thing. You can't have a big ego when you show up on set or to your crew. At least that's my personal belief. Because if your ego gets in the way of a good idea for your movie, then you're not making the best movie that it could be. Might be, the way some people do it, but it's not mine. When I show up to direct, I make sure that everybody on the crew knows that if they have an idea, I want to hear it. You don't always have to use that idea, but you should be at least open to the idea of listening to the idea. What's it going to hurt you if you listen to someone's idea? If someone comes to you and says, I have an idea, if you say, no, I don't want to hear it, that's going to shut them down, and that's not going to create a very collaborative process. A process where they would be getting inspired. Instead of getting inspired, they're getting shut down, and they probably will keep any idea that they have to themselves. So you got to be able to listen to folks when it comes to directing. You got to be kind, you got to inspire, you got to listen. And also, this is probably one of the most important ones. And it's a really tricky one, but I think it's true, is you just cannot say everything that's on your mind. A director should be level-headed, or at least have the appearance of being level-headed. The director should be able to keep a calm, cool personality while in the midst of all the chaos of making a movie. When an actor cancels a shoot for the day, when the sunlight isn't hitting the location at the right amount, when the camera batteries keep dying, those are all real situations that you will face as a director. And if you react strongly to each of those situations very emotionally, that just doesn't set a good precedent as a leader. Because if the director is freaking out and causing and throwing a hissy fit and yelling and shouting, that sets a precedent for the crew that that's okay, that's allowed, that if something else happens like that in their department, then they can do that as well. And that's just, again, that's not very mature behavior. You want to be able to keep a cool head. Now, I'm not saying don't freak out. You just don't have to give the appearance of freaking out. You can be freaking out. Freak out in your head as much as you want. If a battery dies and your cinematographer didn't take the time before an awesome take to switch it out and it dies in the middle of a take, yeah, that'd make me angry and I'd want to scream and shout, but keep that inside. And just, you have to find a way to maintain your emotions in high stress situations, because again, people are not going to want to follow and listen to someone who freaks out over every single thing. When something bad happens, when you get bad news, say, okay, take a couple deep breaths and go into your head and think. Don't show off any emotion, which sounds kind of suppressive, which I don't mean, but don't make it seem like you're very angry and you're trying to think because you're so angry and you're biting your tongue. You can't make it sound like you're biting your tongue. Take a few breaths to calm yourself, and truly and genuinely calm yourself, and start thinking about a solution. Maintain a cool head in those easy situations or those hard situations, and it's going to be a whole lot easier to maintain a cool head in every situation, in easy situations. And that creates a fun environment, again, for people to come to you with their ideas, for them to communicate with you and collaborate with you, for them to feel like they're being listened to, and then to want to come back to work on your movies. Is if directors, you got to keep a cool head. You got to keep your cool about everything. And I know that's not always the most fun job. Sometimes it does feel like you want to scream and just yell at the sky and demand why the gods have cursed you so, but it's part of the job as a director. Part of the job of being a good leader is just maintaining your cool and setting that precedent for your crew members. And so those are kind of the most qualities that I value the most in a director. Those are kind of the things that I look for when I'm a part of a production. Those are the values I'm trying to aim for when I'm leading a production. And those are good qualities just in any leader in general. Someone who makes you feel heard, someone who listens to you, someone who will inspire you, someone who won't freak out over everything, but be mature about, tricky situations, and is kind to you. And so maybe some of that doesn't pertain so much to movies and is just about more life in general, but that's what I look for when it comes to looking for, what are qualities in a good director that I think. At the end of the day, the end product of the movie is ultimately all subjective. It's quality. Good, bad, mediocre, whatever. Those are just, subjective opinions. But I think at the end of the day, if you are a kind person and you treat people with respect and you listen to people and you inspire them, people are going to have a blast working on your movies, and it's going to be, those memories that people have making your movies, that's gonna be what people remember about you and your films for a long time. Not so much the movies, but the memories they had making them.